September 11, 2001. A date that changed the world forever. In just 102 minutes, the United States witnessed the deadliest terrorist attack in its history. Nearly 3,000 innocent lives were lost. Two of the world's tallest towers collapsed. And America was thrust into a new era of war, fear, and global security. Today, we'll uncover the real story behind the scenes of 9/11. From the morning of the attacks to the people who carried them out, the government's response, and the lasting impact on the world we live in today. It was September 11th, 2001, a Tuesday morning that seemed like any other. The weather was strikingly beautiful. The sun rose over New York City, casting golden light across the skyline. The air was crisp, the sky a flawless blue without a single cloud. It was the kind of morning that gave people energy and hope as they hurried to work or school. In Lower Manhattan, the twin towers of the World Trade Center stood proudly above the city, symbols of American ambition and success. Inside, offices were buzzing. Some people were grabbing coffee, others checking emails, and many were just beginning their day with the usual routine. Nothing felt out of place. At the same time, across the country, airports were alive with the normal rush of early morning flights. Families, business travelers, and ordinary citizens boarded planes, unaware that 4 of those flights carried men with a mission of destruction. To everyone else, it was just another ordinary day. To those men, it was the morning they had been preparing for years. No one knew that in just a few minutes, the ordinary calm would shatter, and the world would never be the same again. 8:46 a.m. New Yorkers heard the roar of a jet overhead moments before American Airlines Flight 11 tore through the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Fire and black smoke poured into the clear blue sky. Confusion spread. Was this a freak accident or something more sinister? 17 minutes later, the answer came. At 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 struck the South Tower with terrifying force. The impact, broadcast live, left no doubt. America was under attack. At 9:37 a.m. in Washington, D.C., American Airlines Flight 77 slammed into the Pentagon, crippling the center of U.S. defense. The nation was now in shock. Its symbols of strength turned into targets. Inside the burning towers, thousands were trapped. Firefighters and police pushed upward through the smoke-filled stairwells as terrified office workers tried desperately to escape. On the streets below, people watched in disbelief as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed in a thunderous roar, sending a massive cloud of dust racing through Lower Manhattan. Just 4 minutes later in Pennsylvania, passengers aboard Flight 93 made a final stand. They overpowered the hijackers, forcing the plane down into a field. Their sacrifice prevented another national landmark from being destroyed. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower gave way, vanishing into rubble. In less than 2 hours, 4 planes had turned an ordinary morning into one of the darkest days in history. The men behind the September 11th attacks were 19 members of al-Qaeda, an extremist group led by Osama bin Laden. They had spent years preparing for this mission, training in secret camps in Afghanistan, and even taking flight lessons in the United States. Their targets were chosen carefully. The World Trade Center, a symbol of economic power. The Pentagon, a symbol of military strength, and likely the Capitol or White House, symbols of democracy. Al-Qaeda's deep-seated hatred for America was fueled by several grievances rooted in US foreign policy and cultural influence. The presence of US military bases in Saudi Arabia, home to Islam's holiest sites, was seen as a defilement of sacred land, sparking outrage. US support for Israel, viewed as enabling the oppression of Palestinians, further inflamed tensions. American military actions and sanctions, particularly in Iraq, caused widespread civilian suffering, fueling resentment among disenfranchised groups. Additionally, al-Qaeda rejected Western values like secularism and consumerism, perceiving them as a cultural threat to Islamic traditions. The US's backing of authoritarian regimes in Muslim-majority countries, seen as prioritizing American interests like oil, further alienated populations, providing al-Qaeda with recruitment fodder. While these grievances, exploited by al-Qaeda's extremist ideology, drove the horrific 9/11 attacks, they do not justify the violence. In 2025, ongoing debates on X about US foreign policy's role in global tensions keep these issues in the public eye. In the span of a few hours, nearly 3,000 lives were taken. Men and women at their desks, travelers on planes, firefighters climbing into danger, and police officers guiding people to safety. Thousands more were injured, and countless families were left shattered forever. Inside the towers, strangers helped one another down smoke-filled stairwells, while outside, first responders charged into burning buildings, knowing the risks but refusing to turn back. On Flight 93, ordinary passengers made the ultimate sacrifice, choosing to fight back rather than allow more destruction. Beyond the numbers, each life lost was a story cut short: a parent, a child, a friend. And as the dust settled, it became clear that the tragedy reached far beyond America's borders. People from over 90 countries were among the dead, showing that this was not just an attack on the United States, but a wound felt by the entire world. That evening, as the nation tried to comprehend the scale of the devastation, President George W. Bush addressed the American people, calling the attacks an act of war and promising justice. Across the country, grief turned into resolve. The US launched the War on Terror, beginning with the invasion of Afghanistan to dismantle al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban regime that had sheltered the terrorists. Over the next decade, America's military actions extended to Iraq and reshaped global politics, alliances, and security measures. New laws like the Patriot Act expanded surveillance and tightened airport security, aiming to prevent another tragedy. 9/11 not only transformed the United States' approach to safety and intelligence, but also altered the way the world thought about terrorism, security, and the balance between freedom and protection. In the aftermath of the attacks, investigations revealed shocking gaps in America's intelligence. For years, al-Qaeda's plans had been on the radar of multiple agencies, but poor communication and bureaucratic obstacles allowed critical warnings to slip through the cracks. The 9/11 Commission report later detailed how fragmented information between the FBI, CIA, and other security organizations failed to connect the dots. Flights were monitored, suspicious activities were reported, yet no single agency had the complete picture. Analysts and officers were aware of potential threats, but internal rivalries and outdated procedures prevented timely action. These failures exposed vulnerabilities in national security and forced a sweeping transformation: the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, restructuring of intelligence sharing, and implementation of stricter counter-terrorism measures. The tragedy underscored a hard lesson. Without coordination and foresight, even the most powerful nation could be caught unprepared. The scars of September 11th reached far beyond the rubble of the Twin Towers. The attacks left a profound mark on society, politics, and the global perception of security. In the United States, fear and unity rose side by side, but so did division and suspicion, particularly toward Muslims and Arab Americans, who faced prejudice despite being innocent of any wrongdoing. Across the world, people mourned alongside Americans, recognizing that this tragedy was not confined by borders. Families of victims built memorials like the 9/11 Memorial and Museum at Ground Zero, honoring the lives lost and the courage displayed that day. A decade later, justice came in the form of Osama bin Laden's death at the hands of US Navy SEALs. Yet the memories and consequences of that morning continue to shape policies, perceptions, and the lives of millions. 9/11 changed not only the skyline of New York City, but also the way humanity confronts terrorism, resilience, and remembrance. September 11th wasn't just an American tragedy. It was a human tragedy felt around the world. It reminded us of how fragile life can be, how hatred can destroy, and yet how courage, compassion, and unity can rise from the ashes. The heroism of ordinary people, the resilience of survivors, and the global solidarity that followed continue to inspire generations. If there is one lesson from that day, it is that peace, understanding, and vigilance are the only ways to prevent such horrors from happening again. Let us remember the lives lost, honor the brave, and work toward a world where such tragedies become a memory rather than a reality. This is Legacy Line, where we uncover the history that shaped our world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that matter.